So you want to start calling for self-storage facilities, but you don't know really what to say or what information you need to even formulate an offer. I'm going to take you through the entire process of the initial phone call with a self-storage lead. How you should speak to the seller, how to build rapport, how to build credibility, how to collect the right information so you can actually make an offer based on that data. So the goal with this initial conversation is to collect certain information, certain documentation from the seller at the end of the call. And they're only going to provide this to you if you build trust, credibility, and they like you. So these documents we need are typically a profit and loss statement, the income statement of income minus expenses, typically for the year we're in, year to date, and previous year or 2 years if possible. We also look to get a unit mix. A unit mix is all the list of, whether the sizes of the units, they have 10 by 10s, they have 20 10 by 20s. You want that unit mix with the rental rate for each unit that they're charging. We like to ask for an occupancy report to see how occupied the facility is. If you can get one that's not only for current occupancy, but has the history of occupancy for maybe the last 12 months, that's great as well. This is typically done if they have software systems. So if they're really mom and pop and have pen and paper, it's gonna be hard to get. That last item we also like to ask for is a management summary. It lists what they've done so far for the year, what they collected that month, and also if they have other income streams, late fees, they sell boxes, U-Haul, rentals, truck rentals. And so those are the 4 documents. That's your goal at the end of the call, is to be able to build enough credibility with them where they're gonna send you these documents so that way you can make an offer based on these numbers and information, this data they're going to provide to you. So a lot of people think just building rapport is like they're from the state of Georgia and hey, my mom's from the state of Georgia. Like that's not really building rapport. You want to just have a normal conversation and make them like you. And through that conversation, you just want to, really put them on a pedestal, make them feel proud of what they accomplished. So typically we start by just having a normal conversation and asking them about self-storage. We've purchased nine self-storage facilities, but I'm still new to the game. So I'm always act as like I'm a learner. I like to learn, and I ask about the seller, like how they got into the business, how long they've been into storage, what got them into it, do they own any other properties? So we just have those initial conversations, just really casual conversations, just speaking like a regular person. Everybody tries to like read scripts and have this like certain way of speaking, but in reality, you just have to have a normal conversation with a real person on the other side of the phone and just be natural and just pretend like you met him at the bar and he told you he buys self-storage and he owns self-storage facilities, and you're just having a normal conversation with the guy. Like, how'd you get into it? Does your family, how do you run the facility? So you're asking these you're just having this normal conversation, and you get the information slowly. All the information you're asking him, you use as bullet points later. And you just make sure you're taking copious notes from this conversation. So as we build that quality conversation, we're building rapport naturally just from having that normal conversation. So we want to ask along with that is, why are they actually looking to sell? Because it's all based on motivation. We're not going to buy a property from somebody. This is a great asset class. So if everything's running smoothly and there's no desire to sell, if he's 90% occupied, he's running it great, and he's cash flowing, maybe he's working on the property, he enjoys it, or maybe he has the manager there and he doesn't have to do anything. Like, if he has no reason to sell, you're probably going to get from him a number that doesn't even make sense, and you're going to have no opportunity to really even truly buy it at a number that you're going to want to move forward at. So you want to have a seller with motivation. If he has some kind of motivation, he's probably already had maybe some conversations with a broker or other buyers potentially. So we also ask, hey man, where are you at in this sales process? Did you just start taking calls, just start figuring out what you want to do with the property, that you do want to sell it? Or have you been mulling over offers and getting a lot of phone calls and having a lot of conversations already? Do you have offers already on this property? So knowing where they're at in the sales process allows you to get a better determination of like how soon they're willing and able to make a commitment to an offer. And so if they have offers already, we ask, try to poke into those offers and say, what were those offers coming in at? Ballpark range, if they don't want to be specific. Why haven't you accepted any of those offers? And so that will give you a lot of feedback, whether it's, the price was not high enough, maybe they were offered seller financing and they didn't like it. So you want to just kind of dive into every question is asked deeper and deeper questions, and you're just collecting more information, more bullet points to use in the future when you continue this conversation now or in follow-up calls down the line. Knowing where they've been at with these other offers, you can try to scope with them or just straight up ask them, what is your ideal scenario in selling this property? What's your goals? Price, getting a certain amount of money each month. Do you own it free and clear? Do you have a mortgage on the property? Now, typically at this point in time, they're a little bit more open up to you. Like, we're probably 10, 15 minutes into this conversation, if not longer already, when you start off the way we start off. So being more open, you can ask questions like, what are your plans with the money when you sell? Like, paint the picture of them selling the property. Where are they gonna be at? Like, are they going to be traveling to Italy and traveling the world? Like, what are their goals with selling? And so if you get a better idea of like what they need, with what their immediate cash needs are, you can also get an idea of whether we can potentially do something with seller financing. I have people who wanted to sell the property to go build and buy another property. So in certain times like that, they might not be willing to do seller financing. They might want a large chunk of money down because they have bigger plans. And then some of the seller finance deals we have that we've contracted and bought, these people are just, retiring, and they like that income stream, and they only need this much down because they want to pay off their debt, the rest of their debt, their house, and they want to kind of get that same monthly payment each and every month. So now you can have a better idea of what kind of offer you can make them based on what they want and need from the sale. So after that first large chunk of the conversation, we're really trying to figure out the why and their motivation to sell and where they're at in the sales process. Now we start getting into the property and getting some more information on the actual physical site and a little bit of their financials. So typically we just ask for the gross income each month. So most people know what they make each month or how much money's coming in each month. They don't always know what their expenses are, their expense ratio, or how much the lawn service costs and this costs and this costs, but they roughly know how much income's coming in. And a lot of times if you're dealing with a lot of mom and pop owners, typically their expenses are really low because they're doing a lot of the work themselves as well. So we get a lot of people where they're like, oh, my only expenses are taxes and insurance. Those aren't our expenses. Expenses like across the board and across like industry average, it's around 38-40% expense ratio for self-storage. So we get a lot of sellers who their expense ratios is like 12%. So out of the total income coming in, it's only 12% a month. Well, that's just not realistic. They're probably cutting the grass themselves. They're managing it themselves. They're going to the property themselves. They don't have any software or systems in place. So the way we're going to run the facility and operate it, we're going to have much higher expenses if that's truly their expenses. They're not taking into account the time and effort of their own. And so we're going to have to pay for that. And obviously they're not going to work for us for free. So we kind of give them an idea up front, like, oh, that's so great that you're able to do that yourselves. I wish I owned one in my backyard. Most of our properties are scattered throughout Florida. So we have to hire people to go cut the grass. We have to, put systems and processes in place, and those typically cost a little bit, more money. So we just kind of put that in there. So we let them know that our expenses are going to be higher, so we can't base it off their net operating income. It's going to be based off typical expense ratios and what the income we can expect based on actually hiring people to do work. Next, we like to know the square footage of the property. Typically, it's based on net rentable square feet. So you might have a building that's 20,000 square feet, but maybe only 16, 17,000 of net rentable square feet, meaning in a 10 by 10, it's 100 square feet. You got 100 of those, you got 10,000 square feet. Building might be 12,000 square feet in total because of hallways and wall partitions and everything else. Then we want to know how they're operating the facility. Are they doing everything? Do they have a manager in place? Do they have a website? Do they have automatic gates? Is the place have great lighting? You want to have really good lighting on a facility, so you're trying to figure out what kind of expenses, CapEx, capital expenditures, you have to have up front if this place is, doesn't have any of these items that typically you want to see in a self-storage facility. Safety is the most important. Security is the most important. So you want to make sure it has a gate. It has security lights. And so if they don't have these things, you got to put into your underwriting that you're potentially going to add them, unless really like nobody in your competition has it, then you can maybe kind of get away with not doing it as well. But typically, to be the price leader, you would want to have these items. Next, we're trying to find out about expansion opportunity. So typically, we ask, hey, do you see any possibilities on the land of where we can add more buildings? Typically, what I typically do is there's an app called Land Glide. I think it's like $10 a year. I use that app. I put it on my phone while I'm talking to the guy, and I can see like an aerial view of the property, and I can kind of get a better idea of what sections of land might be possible to build on. And that way, if you pull this up while you're talking to the seller, you can have a better conversation with the seller of seeing like, hey, I see in the northwest corner here, there's some trees there. Is that like wetlands, or is it like possible to knock that down and build? And then that kind of like brings conversation. He's like, oh, I thought about expanding that, but the city said I couldn't. And so you'll get some more insight. So when you can actually get an idea and you can view what they know they own, they can kind of give you some insights on, what's possible, what they've tried, and just try to dive into that as well. Some people say, hey, yeah, you can definitely expand another 20,000 square feet. How do you know you can expand another 20,000 square feet? Have you gone through that process? Have you talked to the city? Where are you at in that process of underwriting the expansion? Have you gone through any steps at all? And they might say no. Well, then I'm not going to take his word that I can build 20,000 square feet if he hasn't done any due diligence to tell me that is true fact. And lastly is typically when we ask price. So, hey Bob, in an ideal scenario, what price are you looking for? That's simple. And just kind of let them talk. And there's a couple things you can do. You can be like, interesting, be quiet, see what they kind of react or say, or be like, oh wow, nice. Like, I think you have to give some kind of reaction, and it'll make them kind of just think and pause, maybe think they're asking too much. Most times in this industry, most people are asking too much right now. They haven't caught up with the interest rates, how much they've risen, and what maybe a broker or somebody else told them the property was worth a year and a half ago. So that's the biggest hurdle right now, is unrealistic pricing in the marketplace. So it's all about building rapport, credibility, and follow-up. The worst thing I see a lot of people do right now is contracting properties at these super high prices. I get so many wholesale deals sent to me that make no sense at all and don't have any of the information that we're actually asking for. And so you want to make sure you're locking up good deals, whether it's for you to buy and keep, or if you're trying to wholesale these properties, because most of the ones I see out there are garbage, because you're just taking any deal and you're not really making offers that make sense. So when they tell you that crazy kind of price, I already know how much they gross each month. And when I put into my numbers the expense ratio of 40%, times it by 12, and I divide it by price they're asking, so the net operating income divided by the price they're asking is my cap rate. And a lot of times these sellers' initial price is a 4-5 cap. The problem with that is when you're buying at a 4 or 5 cap, which means a cash on cash return, if you bought the property all cash, a cash on cash return of 4 to 5%. Problem is when you're borrowing money at today's rates at 6.5 or maybe higher, you're negative. So how can you make this property cash flow? It's very difficult. And most times you won't even be able to get bank financing at these numbers, because the income the property is currently producing is not going to cover the debt service coverage ratio that the bank requires to get the loan. And so, we kind of educate the seller on that fact and just let them know, like, hey Bob, I completely understand you're looking for, a 4.5 cap on your drive up facility that's 20, 30 years old, but unfortunately, like, just based on like conversations with my bank and my banker, like these numbers won't really pencil out. And it's there to protect the bank, to make sure we don't go in default, and obviously, protect their investment of the loan. And so just based on initial numbers I'm looking here, it's kind of, a little bit higher than we really need to be at. Do you have any room on that price? And then hopefully you can get him down on price, good chunk. The other ways we're making some of these deals work is with seller financing. So being able to structure seller finance deals where the seller finances us, and maybe he wants a 4 or 5 cap now, but we can get interest from him, a loan from him at interest rates of 2%, then there's possibilities of making some of these deals work. Being able to structure deals creatively is a game changer if you really know it. So I've been doing creative financing since 2017. 3 of our 9 self-storage deals are with creative financing. And so creative financing is a game changer. We teach people exactly how to do this with creative financing. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can structure deals and how we can help you do that, there's a link in the description below with more information on our group, Creative Investor. So now typically at this point, we are just giving them a little bit of credibility about us. Hey, we've purchased 9 self-storage facilities. We've already added value to 3 of them and sold them. You know, we're ready to expand and continue to buy more. Let them know that we're real buyers, that we close on deals, and just really quick on us. Most of the conversation is about them. If they ask, we can dive deeper into about us, how we fund deals and things like that. But really, we're really quick with about us. It's not about you. It's literally about them and solving their problems and helping them, you know, achieve whatever they want to achieve, even if it's just retiring with income each month and being an easy sales process. So all about them, put it on them, put them on a pedestal, and make sure you're just a real human. That's why I tell people, it's like, just be human, like have a conversation. Don't make it so much more difficult than it is. Just have a real conversation, and these sellers will give you the information you need, which again is a profit and loss statement, a unit mix, an occupancy report, and if possible, a management summary. You get those 4 items, you can really underwrite a deal and see what it's worth and what profit is there and how you can make an offer on that property. So what we're looking for on these deals is add value opportunity. We're looking for, can we increase rents? Can we decrease expenses? Can we add buildings? So when you have that quality conversation with the seller, they're gonna be willing and able to provide you the documents they have. And they don't always have these 4 items, but again, we want to get a profit and loss statement, current year-to-date profit and loss statement, and also from the last 2 years, an occupancy report, and hopefully the occupancy history for the last 12 months. You also want to get a unit mix with all the breakdown of the units, what sizes and the rates. And then also if they have software, management summary, that's going to give you all the information on the property, all the income, expenses, fees, extra income they receive, provide tenant insurance, the income they get from tenant insurance as well. When you have all this information, you can truly underwrite the deal, see what you're buying when you're going into it, and then see where you can add value. The add value we look for is rental increases. So if the 10x10s are renting for $60, can we get them to $100, $80? And what does that look like for the income changes for each unit mix? So we're looking for rent increases that are possible. We're looking for where we can cut expenses, add automation, run this facility more efficiently. And then we're looking for expansion opportunity. Can we add more buildings? Can we add more square footage, which will in turn add more income to the property? Those are typically the added value opportunities for self-storage: expansion, increased rents, decreased expenses, and utilizing automation, which is, you know, software, so you can eliminate payroll. If you can eliminate the need for someone to be there full-time, or, you know, on larger facilities, a full-time person, a part-time person, and just use automation, a call center, you'll drastically save on expenses. The 3 biggest expenses in self-storage is taxes, insurance, and payroll. So if you can cut payroll down significantly, you can save a lot of money to your bottom line, increasing the value of your property. So I went over a lot of information on that video. If you think we missed something, you have follow-up questions, leave the questions in the comments. I'll respond there, or potentially make a whole video based on your question. Make sure you subscribe to not miss out on any future videos of valuable information on how you can be successful, not only in self-storage, but all real estate. So get on the phone, start calling these self-storage leads, and send them my way. I'll buy them.